Good afternoon. This is Russell Farbiers, and I'm here with you with another episode of Not Minding My Own Business. And I am thrilled to have with me Terri Hill of Two Hills Consulting. Terri, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Russ. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, well, great, because we're really excited to have you here and learn more about you. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Two Hills Consulting?
So Two Hills Consulting actually came about because I've always been curious about why some people succeed and others don't. I had the opportunity for about 25 years of my life to work with a variety of business owners, and I come from an education background. So I would watch some people who were very successful and did really well in business, but may not have been the best student if they go back to their high school or school days. And then I saw other people who had many, many titles after their name, yet they really just could not get their business off the ground. And, I grew up with the understanding that, you had to have a rock solid education and a lot of letters after your name in order to be successful in life. That was the way you defined yourself. And I learned when I was out in the marketplace and that wasn't the case. So I was always curious as to why that happened. And, in that process, you learn about yourself as well. So when I grew out of the marketing world, and that's where I was for many years, I wanted to help other people then understand how they could take responsibility and create what they want in their life. And that's what you learn is a lot of that. It's all about what you believe. So hence Two Hills Consulting.
That's very true. And I understand that the other reason is that there are two hills in the consulting company. Is that right?
Oh, there were supposed to be two hills in the consulting company. and that
Oh,
and there were supposed to be two hills in the consulting company. My husband at the time, he's been in the retail space. He's a business owner, but he also was a very, very much in the IT world for many years. And he decided he was going to maybe do some consulting in that world. And we were trying to figure out how we could work together and market it. But, his space being so different because it was IT solutions is very different than having a mindset and a life success solution. They just didn't mesh very well, but I like the name. So I kept him involved on the periphery, at least in the name he's involved. And he is supporting me from behind, in the background, but he's not a forefront person at this point.
he's a silent partner, right?
No, he's not as silent as I'd like him to be. There's times he speaks up a little too much, but he's a great partner nonetheless.
Yeah, it's always hard to have your spouse be a silent partner because they'll always share their opinions with you, whether you want to hear it or not.
Oh, they are a great mirror, aren't they?
They are, because they see all of our different sides, even the ones that we don't necessarily want anyone to see.
That's correct. That is correct. We don't necessarily want anybody else to see it, but they darn well see it and they point it out. They take the time to point it out. So if you want to be reminded, just talk to your spouse.
Yes, yes. So talk to me a little bit about what you do with your clients when you're working with them.
Okay, I will gladly do that. So the majority of the people I work with have a certain pattern. So what I found is, although I could work with anybody, it doesn't matter, male, female, what age group, I tend to have the biggest and best connection with women. And it's usually women who are at a point in their life where they've raised their family, and through most of their life, they've made decisions about their life for others. So it's, I'm going to get a job that's convenient for my family, that I can make maybe a certain amount of money, that I'm working certain hours in order that I can be a great mom or great spouse or whatever. And, that has suited them for many years. And then you get to a point, those kids grow up and the household changes and they realize they may have made or been stuck in a career now that they really don't like. It fit them, but it's not something that they really enjoy doing. And they have the freedom to now do something different. And what does that look like? And what I have found is a lot of people in that case, they're not accustomed to making the decision for themselves. They're used to allowing others to dictate it. So giving them permission to have a voice is usually the first step. Allowing them to dream again, because our dreams kind of sometimes, and men too, I'm not saying, your dreams don't fall on the back burner, but it seems to be a lot more in the case of women. but allowing them to go back and saying, well, what is it I really want to do with my life? What do I want my life to mean? What kind of impact do I want to have on my world, my family? What does that look like? And helping them reconnect with that, and then helping them move forward from there. And it's been really a lot of fun to see. And everybody's so different. Everybody has a different view of what success or what an impact looks like for them. And that's been enlightening as well, because, and we tend to see others as being able to accomplish things more easily than we can accomplish it ourselves. So, they'll say, oh, Terri, you can do that, but I can't do that. And it's like, well, no, I see it in you. I see that everybody has potential in them. It's just having that confidence to move forward and step outside their comfort zone. So it's been a lot of fun.
It's got to be so empowering to your clients to realize that they can have this control over their life, and they don't have to just sit there and have things happen to them. I'm sure.
Exactly. Exactly. But, there are people that aren't ready for that are comfortable being in the passenger seat of a car and not the driver. So they like when they feel like they're the victim. I'm going to say victim. This is kind of harsh, but they let life happen to them as opposed to them making decisions for themselves. They allow others to make decisions for them. And but that's really not what we're here for. If you believe in God or a bigger purpose, we're here to fulfill something, and we're all given talents. And it's really what we're here meant to do, is to discover what those talents are and to make best use of them so that we can share them with the world. We all have something to offer, and we need to discover what that is.
Yeah, I can't imagine, you're probably in the room when these aha moments happen all the time, and it must be very rewarding, to be able to guide someone towards that end.
And one of the most interesting things, Russ, is that I learn just as much from them as they learn from me. So, I've gone down the road, and I kind of, I've been on the journey, and I'll say, I'm kind of guiding them like a Sherpa. But there's something that they'll see along the road that I have not seen before, or they'll point something out, and they'll have their aha is something that I totally overlooked. It wasn't something that occurred to me. And I go, wow, I never thought of it that way. Oh, wow, I've never. And so it's not a one-way relationship. It's a very much a two-way. I may be the initial guide, but they're going to come up with some really cool insights that will help me as well become better at what I do. So it's a two-way street. It's a two-way street.
Oh, it absolutely is. Now, you said your background is in education. So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, let me tell you, Russ. I went to the small school called Penn State University. If you ever heard of that small school, and when I went there, I actually started as a computer science major, only because my math teacher said I would be good in computer science. At the time, now this will age me, this will date me. We didn't even have computers in school, but I was told that was an up and coming career, so I should choose it. So I went there with that in mind, and I learned pretty quickly that I was not meant to be a computer programmer. I was not meant to sit and do programming, and I needed to find a place for me to be. I needed to determine a path, and at the time I decided I was going to be a math teacher. So I got my degree in math education. I moved to the Reading area right after graduation, and there were no math job openings. There was nothing open in the schools when I moved here, and I found I did not like substitute teaching, and instead I entered the workforce and I entered business, and that's my kind of started in business. And even though I tried, I did still selectively interview. I was told after 2 years that I was no longer a viable candidate as a teacher because I was out of the teaching world for too long. So they gave me a 2-year, your expiration date was 2 years from graduation, as what I was told. And that really, to me, dictated where I needed to go. I needed to find a new place. And eventually I landed in the advertising and marketing world, where I resided for almost 25 years. And it gave me a totally different a perspective as to what life could look like and what people could accomplish, because I had only come from the world of education, which is a much smaller view than what was out there. So I really am very appreciative that I was told to no at some point in my life.
Sometimes when we're told no, it's the best thing that can happen to us because it opens another door that you wouldn't have opened otherwise. And
Perfect. Yeah, it's exactly true. Have you experienced that, Russ?
I think we've all experienced that. I can tell you I never thought that I was going to be, practicing. For instance, at one point in my career, I practiced criminal law. I worked for the district attorney's office. I never anticipated that that was what I was going to do, but I did it because another door had closed. When I graduated law school, it was during the Great Recession and jobs were scarce. So you had to take what you could take. But it's led me in a lot of different places. And I'm sure that for you, not being a teacher, I know has led you to a lot of really interesting places. When you and I first met, your job title was the marketing goddess. So
Yes, it was.
so so you've got to tell me a little bit about that because not many people get to say I'm the marketing goddess.
Well, yes, it was self-appointed, so it wasn't like somebody called me it. I gave it to myself. But I will tell you, having been I was an account executive for so many years. So that was the innocuous term for salesperson. I worked at Y102. I worked for Comcast. So I worked in a lot of advertising solution space. And the account executive title was it wasn't overly fun, or it didn't have a lot of memorable, identities associated with it. You're a salesperson. So at my last, or actually when I worked at an ad agency, they allowed me to create my own title. And they said, so what title do you want, when I was at the ad agency? And I said, I want to be a marketing goddess. If I can create a title, I want to be a marketing goddess. And so they initially created business cards for me on the fly that had marketing goddess on them. And I was able to hand them out, and people thought that was funny. It was meant to be funny. It was meant to be a joke and meant to be memorable. And people thought they were funny. And then when my actual cards came in, it said account executive. So my days of a marketing goddess were short-lived. And then it fast forward probably about 10 years later, I had another opportunity and another job. And it was, I'll name it because it was RTC Direct. They were a fabulous employer of mine. I loved working there. And they allowed me then to create my title again. And I'm like, well, I'm going back to marketing goddess because that was a fun title to have. And they let me do it. So it was just, again, when you're marketing, it's all about being memorable. And it was a way for me to differentiate myself from everybody else who's an account executive. And God bless us all, the people that are in that role, because it's viewed with love and hate from the people that you serve, right? People love when you work with them, then they hate necessarily being bothered by the person who's an account executive. But marketing goddess was a much softer way to work with people.
It was, and it's memorable because I think, I mean, I think that I met you more than 5 years ago, but when I think of you, I think of marketing goddess because that's how I met you.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Now I'm gonna have to get a more fun title for my other card.
Yeah.
I will tell you, there was trying to I tend to try to keep my titles light
Yeah.
and fun. And for a brief moment in time, I was actually a financial advisor. I thought my mathematics background and sales background, if they had a baby, I could be a financial advisor. So I lived in that world for a whopping 18 months. And I remember when I got all my, certifications, your Series 766 Life and Health, and I was so excited. And you become a financial advisor at that point. You have that title, and they used to say you're an FA, you're an FA, you're an FA. And I'm like, I remember getting all excited, and I went into the office. I'm like, I'm an FA, I am freaking awesome. And they're like looking at me going, what is wrong with you? Like, that is not what an FA. And that they were so serious, like it was a serious business. And I should have known then that it was probably not the best place for me, because it was, yes, it's a serious industry. You're taking care of people's assets, but at the same time, you're there for connection and to help people, and it doesn't need to be somber. And it was definitely a somber environment. So I'm sure
Yeah.
you've worked with people like that too.
Yeah, and I think law has the same type of reputation because they are they're we have a very serious profession. FAs have a very serious profession, but if we're just serious all the time, it gets awfully boring, and I don't think we help our clients that well because we're not thinking creatively, we're not thinking outside the box, and y- you really want to be able to connect with people. And how do you connect with people if you don't show them your real personality?
Right. Well, and a lot of people who are dealing with, people in the law, is it's usually not a good time in their life. There's
Yeah.
usually a problem that's occurring. It's not usually a happy moment. It's usually a problem. And you kind of need to bring that levity, right? So I'm sure that's what you try to do for your clients, to make them
Mhm.
feel comfortable and take away the anxiety around the interaction.
Right. And I need people to tell me everything, even the thing that they don't want to tell anyone, because that one thing could make the difference in what we're doing. So it's important to really get that personality out there, and really connect with people on a human level, not just on a professional level. At least that's my viewpoint.
That's
So
exactly right.
so so you were almost a math teacher. You you've been in marketing. You were a financial advisor. I thought I saw that you were a real estate agent too.
I dabbled in that. Yes, I did. Yes,
Okay.
Russ. I'll tell you the quick story of that is I actually did that while I was starting my business. One of the exercises I have anybody who I potentially work with do is write down 50, yes, 50 dreams that they have, things that they could accomplish if they didn't have to worry about money, how they were going to do it. But it's just things that they come up with and start the list. And the number 50 came up because a lot of times we become very practical. We
Mhm.
want a new car, we want a bigger house, we want a vacation, we want whatever. And we have things that come really easily. And this kind of challenges people to go a little bit deeper and to really start to think outside the box if they have to go beyond the top 5 or 10 that come off their quick mind. And when I was having people do this, I thought, I've always been curious about homes. I don't know, I was an HGTV junkie.
Mhm.
I was one of those people that when you used to have the newspaper with the Sundays and you could see what the open houses were. I was always curious as to certain houses, especially new houses. I love new homes. So I thought, geez, and I remember that searching for my own home was very exciting for me and I love doing it. I thought, well, maybe I should, explore that door. Maybe that's a door I can kind of meld these two together. And so I tried it, and I'm very appreciative for the opportunity and the experience. But it was a no for me. It turned out that I learned some things about myself that some things I didn't like to give up. I like to control my calendar. I like
Mhm.
to create, how I'm going to spend my time. And when you're a realtor, God bless the people that are in that space, but they're a lot of times at the beck and call of the people that they're working with or for, because especially in a market like now where it's very
Mhm.
things are happening so quickly. And that's just not a space I wanted to be in. I really wanted to be work differently and envision the best work environment to be different. And I get more satisfaction by helping somebody change their life. And even though a house was a very fulfilling, it's a obvious a goal for somebody. It's not quite the life changing goal that I would like to see. So I stepped back out of that space. I tried it, and
You
I
try.
appreciate the people that are doing it, and I backed away and let them do it.
I can understand that, and it's wonderful that you've tried all these things because it gives you even more perspective when you're working with one of your clients. Uh,
Thank you for that. I will tell you, I used to beat myself up for feeling like I kept changing, and I can go back. I probably would explore something new every 3 to 5 years. Like I would kind of feel like I've maxed out of the experience wherever I was, and I would take an opportunity. Usually, an opportunity came my way to try something new, and I'd step into another role. It was similar, but not, but it gave me an opportunity to grow. And I would say to myself, why couldn't I be like that person who knew they wanted to be like a doctor or an attorney or this, in their life. And they were so focused from when they were little, they knew it and they followed that path and it was very clear to them. And I was more of a picker and chooser. I would kind of try this out and see how I felt, like I was trying on clothes. Oh, does this fit me well? And then trying something else. But at the same time, it has given me such an appreciation for the people I speak to, because I can see myself in them. I know what they're going through. And I can also say to them, it doesn't hurt to try something new. I've done it. And, it doesn't work out all the time. And it's okay if it doesn't work out. And you will always be able to rebound and find something better. So I feel like that gives me that confidence to tell people it's okay.
I think that what sometimes people forget is that it's okay to fail.
Yeah.
We're not, you have to give yourself permission to say, I tried it, I gave it my best, it didn't work, I'm moving on to the next thing. And
well, and it's funny because you can look back in your younger years, like it was okay to fail. Obviously, when we were babies and we were learning to walk, we didn't try once and stop.
right.
We when we were riding a bike, we fell multiple times and skinned our knees, and it was okay. And we looked awful driving a car. I mean, we probably like swerved and hit the brakes too hard, and it was not the best experience for our parents. God bless them for being in the car with us. But there was a point, it felt like we reached maybe graduation, either high school or college or whatever. And then we felt we were complete and everything had to be done right. We weren't allowed to experiment or try something. We weren't allowed to look awkward anymore. And we're always going to look awkward when we try something new. It's always going to be uncomfortable. And to give yourself permission to look like you're not the expert is tough for some of us, and for most of us. Like we're used to being present in a certain way, and when we don't look like we're at our best, we're like, oh, this is. But we learn from it. We learn.
Right.
Yeah. So
right.
it's yeah.
As long as we're learning and growing, it has not been a waste.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So I guess if someone wanted to work with you, what does that look like? Well, what do you do like weekly sessions, or is it structured like talk therapy, or is it something a little bit different?
Well, I've never thought of it as talk therapy, but maybe it could be. So the rest, there's a couple ways. Like first of all, I don't like to assume I know what the best way is going forward with anybody. And so usually and always what I offer is a 30-minute to an hour conversation. It could be on Zoom, it could be in person, it could be on the phone. And just so we can get to know each other. It's a partnership. We're going to be working together. We need to make sure that, what they want to accomplish and they're comfortable with them on their journey. Because if we don't feel like we're going to get along, it's going to work out, it's not going to be good for either of us. They're going to be frustrated. I'm going to be frustrated. So I have that 1 hour conversation with them to really ascertain whether or not it's something that I can help them with, and if there's a solution going forward. So a lot of my relationships kind of fall into about 3 different categories. One of them is something called Next Step, and that's usually for individuals who say, I have this problem, and it's usually very specific. It's short term. It could be, a lot of them are around business development or career change or something like that. It's very specific that they're looking for. And they're like, I just need guidance right now, like really right now. And what I found works is usually we meet 3 times. So we meet first to ascertain what's going on and what they're doing, what's not working. And then we brainstorm as to what possibilities, how we can kind of change the perspective and see what could work. And we get them to agree, and we agree on what the action steps are going to be and how we're going to make the changes. And then we do a follow-up probably about a month in, depending on the timeline. Usually a month gives them time to implement the action steps, see how it's working, see how it's going, and then make some, tweaks to it. And then we do a wrap up and see how it's holding up. So that 3 months is usually enough time to build new habits and gives them time to really get their feet, grounded into that new habit. And it works well for the people who are looking for really, I need something now. Then I have mastermind groups, and that's through the Small Business Resource Association currently. I'm also contemplating doing it on my own, but right now it's offered through them. I work with women business owners, and the women business owners I work with are looking for people who understand what it's like to be a women business owner. So there's a lot of people, small business owners who are doing every decision by themselves. They're doing, from the bookkeeping to actually the service. And the family around them may not appreciate, or their friends may not appreciate the challenges that they're facing. So I like to create a safe community of women that are in the same shoes and the same boat, have the same experience, and they share best practices, what works well, what they found. And the biggest takeaway I've gotten from the women that participate is that they become more confident in their decisions as a business owner. Because they know that they're doing what's best, and they know they have the support of the other women. So it's really been empowering for them. And then my big signature, I will say, is for anybody who really wants to understand how they can take power for their life. They can take control of their life. And it's a 6-month relationship that we have. And I walk them through a course that actually teaches them how to, set that big goal. And then the rest of the course is telling you what's going to keep you back from achieving it. And it's how to work through those. And, I learned a lot about myself. I learned different ways to set goals. I was very SMART goal proficient, and I've questioned, I would be very logical in my goals. And this kind of makes you think outside the box. What is it, something that you've always wanted to do that makes your heart sing? And if you could accomplish that, you would be so thrilled and excited, and you couldn't wait to share it. We're much too logical on a lot of our things. And
Yes.
It's the things that inspire us that are going to keep us focused and motivated to be persistent. So I want to encourage people to do that. And that 6 months is meant to do that for them. So it's a lot of fun. That's fun.
It sounds like a lot of fun, and it sounds like it's really quite helpful to people. I could certainly see why it would be desirable. So before we wrap up, I just want to talk a little bit about you. So what is your favorite local organization to support?
Ooh, I'm a member of Rotary, and in fact, the West Reading Wyomissing Rotary Club since 2001. So it's 21 years of Rotary service. And what I loved about Rotary was that it had not only an international mission, but also had a capacity for you to support the local community. So in Rotary, we select a variety of local nonprofits that we partner with every year. So we've done things with Safe Berks, Opportunity House, and with Hope Rescue Mission. So I love that it's a variety of organizations. So that's one of the main things that I like to do, is because it gives me the capacity to be in a lot of different spaces depending on where we want to be. And also my husband was very much involved in the international component. They do cleft palate surgeries, and he was on seven different missions throughout South America and Nepal, where he got to see within a week, like 100 kids go through cleft palate surgery. And so there's a lot of ways that you can, make change and have a positive impact in the world. So I love that. So there you go. There's my big organization.
Makes a lot of sense. I'm also Rotarian, former president of my club. So I share most, just about everything you just said about Rotary. It is great that it has that local and international component. Now, are you originally a Berks Countyan, or are you like me, and are you a transplant?
I'm a transplant. So I'm not far away, but I grew up I'm a coal cracker, as they will say. And my biggest hurdle to coming here was I grew up where football was your Friday night football, like that was it. And we were a very big football school. I went to Mount Carmel High School, and we had a stadium where there were actually people who had season tickets. So this is high school season ticket holders. And then I got married and moved here, and it was a shock to see how Holy Name at the time had a small stadium, and it was just I couldn't believe that was the way high school was in this area. Now it's really grown and it's expanded, but that was, yeah, I'm a transplant, so Mount Carmel.
And what do you like to do when you're not working?
What do I like to do when I'm not working? So there's a couple things. So my favorite thing, I was just sharing this with somebody this morning. I said, you think they're so diverse. I love to read. So I read not only personal development, but I love reading books by like John Grisham, the typical John Grisham. I used to be a Nancy Drew person, so I love whodunits. Those are also some of my favorite books, but I love to read. And then if I want to be moving, I love to dance. My mom will tell a story of me going to a wedding when I was 2 years old, and I danced the whole time I was there. And the next day I wouldn't stand because my legs hurt. So she was thinking of taking me to the doctors because she said I wasn't moving. I would just sit there. And here it was because my legs hurt from dancing at the whole wedding. So if there's music and an opportunity to dance, I will be dancing. So I'll dance or I'll be reading, one or the other. Give me a choice.
So what's on your bookshelf right now?
Oh my gosh, I'm reading Happier Than God is one of the books I'm reading right now. And that's with a group I'm reading. And then I have a small book club with my kids and my family, and we just read American Dirt. If you've ever read that, it's an immigrant story. So it's a really interesting insight into the journey from Mexico to the United States.
Oh,
So,
very interesting.
yeah.
Well, Terri, this has been a wonderful conversation. I'm really thrilled to have you on the show. We'll just before we go though, what is something that people should be more aware of about what you do?
Geez, what should they be aware of? Just don't hesitate to have that conversation. Like if you really just want to have I am not looking for necessarily I'd love to work with people, but it's not, having a conversation does not mean that we're having a committed relationship at this point. I want them to be open and feel comfortable that I am stuck. I just need somebody to talk to, and just turn to me to help them get unstuck with that first move. And if it leads to something down the path, great. But if it doesn't, I'm okay with that. I really, really am passionate about just helping people move along and uncovering all those talents that they have.
Well, great. How can our listeners find you if they want your help?
Well, Russ, I will tell you, I do have a website that just launched this weekend. Thanks to you. You kind of pushed me to get a website up and running. I had been very hesitant about it. And so it's very basic, but at least they can reach out to me on that. And it's 2hills.consulting. And the 2 is spelled out TWOHILLS.consulting. And yes, that is an end on that.
Oh.
And it's there, and they can reach out to me there. And they're welcome to email me. So my email address is Terri, TERRI, at 2hills.consulting. So either way, and I will be happy to have a conversation.
Well, wonderful. Thank you, Terri, for being on Not Minding My Own Business. And we look forward to seeing all your continued success.
Thank you so much, Russ, for having me.